Dalit
Kilayim.
Tet. I'm sorry.
Kilayim.
Right. Right. If one plants his vineyard 16 cubits apart, he may bring seeds there. Rabbi Yehuda says it happened in Talmud that a man planted his vineyard 16 cubits apart and turned the tips of the branches of two rows to one side and sowed the plowed ground. And the following year, he turned the tips of the branches to the other side and sowed the fallow ground. And the matter came before the Chachamim, and they permitted it. Reb Meir and Reb Shimon say if one plants his vineyard 8 cubits apart, it's also permitted. A vineyard that had been laid waste, the 10 vines can be harvested with one beit saw, then they are planted according to the law. If it is called a poor vineyard. If a vineyard has been planted in an irregular layout, if there are two opposite three, it's a vineyard. But if not, it's not a vineyard. Rebbeah says since it has appearance of vineyards, it is a vineyard. A vineyard which is planted less than 4 cubits apart, Reb Shimon says it is not a vineyard, and the Sechanim say it is a vineyard, and the middle rows are regarded as non-existent. Okay.
Okay. Gimel Charitz, a ditch. Shu over Bakerim Amok Asara Rachav Arba'a. So again, there's our ditch that's 10 tfachim deep and 4 tfachim wide. Okay, so that's a mechitza in terms of the separation. But now we've already established that, but now what we're going to talk about is like, what about planting inside that ditch? Is that considered a separate domain that you could now plant different species inside that ditch? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, Im haya mefulash mirosh hakerem v'ad sofo, if it goes all the way through the kerem, like from the one end of the field all the way to the other, then it's a separate harei ze nire bein shnei keramim. So it looks like it's in between two separate fields. V'zorim b'socho, and you're allowed to plant a different species inside that ditch. Okay. Ve'im lav harei hu kegas. Then it's considered like a wine press, and we're going to deal with the halacha of the wine press very shortly. Okay. Vagas shebekerim. So now here's the what's the halacha of a wine press that's inside the vineyard. So now that's definitely not going from one end to another end. Okay. Amuka asara v'rechava arba'a. So it's 10 tfachim deep and 4 tfachim wide. Okay. So it looks like it seems like it's a domain of its own. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Zorim Besocha. He said, and Rabbi Eliezer, don't confuse him with the first Tanna, which is Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. This is
Okay.
when Stam Rabbi Eliezer is Rabbi Eliezer ben Hercules. So it's a different person, but Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is referring to his halacha, where Rabbi Eliezer says, Zorim Besocha. Then you're allowed to plant inside it. V'chachamim omrim shomeira shebekerim gavoha asara rechava arba'a zorim besocha v'im haya se'akotesh asur. So first of all, only Rabbi Eliezer holds that you're allowed to plant inside the
Yeah.
inside the press. Chachamim osrim. Sorry, I said first said omrim, but it's osrim. Chachamim osrim. I said that's not permitted. What do
Right.
they? So what? But everyone agrees that a shomeirah. So in a watch mound. So let's say it's a piece of earth that's being built up inside the kerem to higher than 10 tfachim. And that really is its own domain, and it's 4 tfachim wide, so that the watchman can sit with his stool and have a good view over the whole area. Um, Zorin Besocha, you're allowed to plant seeds inside there because that is clearly a different domain. So up is good, down is not so good according to the Chachamim. Im hayaseh kotesh. However, if it's a big vineyard where the vines are actually grown overhanging that mound, then forget whether or not that's a mound higher than 10 tfachim. That's considered inside the vineyard, and you may not plant anything there. Okay. Dalet, gefen shehi netu'a bagas or beneka. So there's a there's just a grapevine that was planted inside a wine press or inside some other cleft. Noslin la avodasa v'zore samosar. All it needs is the 6 tvachim because it's not a kerem, it's just a single vine. So it only needs 6 tvachim, and after that 6 tvachim, you're allowed to plant other things, even inside that gas. So you don't have to like be over respectful of its space. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Im ein sham arba amos, lo yavi zera l'sham. So Rabbi Yossi is more machmir. He says that if this wine press is not 4 amos wide, then then the whole space belongs to the vine, and you may not bring anything else in there. Um, but the halacha does not follow Rabbi Yossi here. Abayis shebekerim. What happens if you've got a house that's inside the vineyard? Now, are you allowed to bring potted plants inside that house? Yes, yes, because everyone agrees that a house is a separate domain. It's got walls and a roof, and it is completely separate from the vineyard, even if the vines are growing over the house and completely surrounding it. Nonetheless, the plants inside the house are a separate domain, and they're legitimate. Okay. Now we get into some fun with geometry. Anotea Yarak Bekerim or Mekayem. What happens? We said that Kilaya Kerim is Asad Bahana, and the product has to be burned. I wasn't sure the other day, but there's a way to remember it because the pasuk says pen tikdash, lest it should be sanctified. Kilo. In this case, sanctified meaning that it's going to be asur for anyone to have benefit from it. Okay. Pen and there's a mnemonic from that, pen tukad esh, lest it needs to be set on fire.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's pen tikdash is pen tukad esh. So you can remember that Kilaya Karim needs to be burned. All right, so now Hareze Mekadesh Arba'im v'chamesh Gefanim. And if you take a look at the geometry, and there's a nice little diagram in the Kahati over here, where if the vines are planted 4 amas apart, it wipes out a radius of 16 amas. So you can see over here, if it's at the center of the vineyard, or at the center of this block of 9 by 9, right? So
Right.
so the one where it touches it, we probably won't count because I think that's what Kahati said. We don't count the one where it just touches, not only the ones that are actually included in the circle. Okay, so if something was planted right at the base of that one vine in the middle, so you can see that there's what's that, five times four is 20, and another one, two, three, four, five, six, four, five. Well, so we got to count four. 4 times 4 is 16. 20 plus 16 is 36. And a 9 in the middle is 45. Yeah, we said 45. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so just counting on that diagram, there are 45 vines that fall inside that radius of 16 amas. Okay, and all of those are going to have to be burned. Masai, when is this? Bisman shehayu netuas al arba arba or al chamesh chamesh. So that's only when the vines are planted 4 amas apart. Why 5 amas apart? Because 5 amas is not that visually different from 4 amas apart, and we're going to be machmir over here so that people shouldn't think that, oh, if it was a 5 amas thing and the circle covers fewer vines, then if it ever happens again in a 4 amas situation, we'll say, oh no, I remember that one situation we only burned X number. No.
Right.
Okay, so we want to keep it clear. However, Hayunatus al Shesh Shesh or al Sheva Sheva, Harezim Makadesh Shesh Esrei Amal Chol Ruach Agulos Velomerubos. So if it's 6 or 7, that's already clearly not the normal distance of planting.
Mhm.
And there you can just use the circle, take a radius of 16 amas, and everything that's inside there must be destroyed. Okay.
Everything inside that circle must be destroyed.
Correct. Everything inside that circle must be burned.
It doesn't leave you very much.
Well, it depends on how big the square is outside there. We haven't drawn necessarily the entire vineyard.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. Um, base Vav. No,
Hmm.
that's yeah, base Vav. If one wishes to lay out his field in beds, each serving a different species, Beit Shammai says three opening furrows, but Beit Hillel says the width of a Sharon yoke. And these are the words of, and the words of these are close to the words of those. If a point of a wheat field meant went to one of barley, it is permitted because it's evidently the end of his field. If his is wheat and his neighbor's is another species, permitted to plant close to it of the same species. If his is wheat and his neighbor's is wheat, he is permitted to plant close to a bed of flax, but not a bed of another species. Reb Shimon says, especially linseed or any other species, and Rabbi Yossi says, even in the center of his field, it is permitted to test with a furrow of flax. And one may not plant close to a grain field, mustard or safflower, but one may plant close to a vegetable field, mustard or safflower. If one may plant close to a fallow field, to a plowed field, or a stone fence, or to a road, to a fence which is 10 tefachim high, or to a ditch which is 10 tefachim deep and 4 amot wide, to a tree which overshadows the ground, and to a rock 10 high and 4 wide. Okay. Okay. Zion. Standing cord which contains two saws and he forgot it is not chikakah. If it does not contain two saws, but is fit to yield two saws, even if it is vetchlings, it's regarded as if they were a crop of barley. Standing corn saves a sheaf and standing corn. A sheaf does not save a sheaf or standing corn. Which standing corn saves the sheaf? Whatever is not chikakah, even one stalk. A saw of plucked grain and a saw of unplucked, and similarly, trees, garlic, and onions do not join together for two saws, but belong to the poor. Rabbi Yossi says, if anything that belongs to the poor intervenes, they do not join together, and if not, then they join together. Okay. Nida.
Just a second. Where to be? Oh, I see. You went one ahead. I think you might have skipped one, but never mind. Tomorrow we should be starting on Tess.
Yes. Okay. Nida, we have Yud Dalet. Regarding Azava, Anida, a woman who has given birth, and a Mitzora who died, they convey Tuma through Masa until their flesh decays. But a non-Jew who dies is pure of conveying Tuma through Masa. Beit Shammai say all women who die are Nidos, but women, Beit Hillel say only one who died when she actually was a Nida is a Nida. If a woman died and a revius of blood flowed from her, the blood conveys Tuma as a blood stain and it conveys Tuma via roof. Rabbi Yehuda says it does not convey Tuma as a blood stain because it became dislodged after she died. But Rabbi Yehuda agrees in the case of a woman who was sitting on the birthing stool and died and a revius of blood flowed from her, that it conveys Tuma as a blood stain. Rabbi Yossi says, therefore, it does not convey Tuma via a roof. At first, they said a woman who was observing the days of Torah, blood may pour water for the Pesach offering. They subsequently changed it to say, with regard to Kedoshim, she is like someone touched by one who is rendered Tomei by a corpse. In accordance with the words of Beis Hillel, Beit Shammai say she is even like one who himself was rendered Tomei by a corpse. Okay. Let me see. We're going to finish this tomorrow, Nida.
Okay. Well, then following that is Machshirin.
Akshay. Okay. Elam. Okay. Yud Zion Aleph.
Base.
The measure of all household utensils to lose. I'm sorry?
Base. Yud Zion base.
All right. I'm very sorry. The measure of a skin bottle to lose its tumor is a hole the size of balls of warp thread. Although it cannot hold balls of warp thread, nevertheless, since it can hold balls of warp thread, it is a tame. Concerning a dish holder, although it cannot hold dishes, nonetheless it can hold platters, it's tame. Concerning a chamber pot, although it cannot no longer hold liquids, nonetheless it is still called an instrument, it is still tame. And Ragamil says it's tahor since people do not keep it. The measure of a breadbasket to lose their tumor is a hole the size of loaves of bread. Concerning avifaros baskets, if one made reeves for them from their bottom to the top for support, they are tahor. And if one made a rim of any kind for it, susceptible to becoming tumor. Rabbi Shimon says if it cannot be lifted up by its rim, is not susceptible to tumor. The pomegranates of which the rabbi spoke are three attached to one another. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says concerning a sister or a sieve, a hole through which a pomegranate would fall, when one takes it and extends it, and concerning a basket, a hole through which a pomegranate would fall when one slings it behind him, concerning all utensils that cannot hold pomegranates, such as a quarter cob measure or half of a quarter cob measure or small sifters. Their measure to lose their tumor is when the greater part of them is perforated. These are the words of Rav Meir. Red Simmons says the size of olives, if they were broken, the measure to lose the tumor is a hole the size of an olive. If they were worn away, the measure to lose the tumor is any amount.
Okay.
On to Sanhedrin, Zion Hay. The blasphemer is not liable unless he utters the divine name, said Reb Shul ben Kacha. Each day they examine the witness by means of a pseudonym. Yossi smite Yossi. When the case is completed, they may not kill based on a pseudonym. Rather, they send everyone out and ask the most eminent of them and say to him, "Say specifically what you heard." And he says it. The judges stand on their feet and render their garments and do not repay them. However, one who embraces, kisses, sweeps, sprinkles,
Oh,
washes,
no, no, no.
anoints.
Whoa, 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 whoa. You skipped a page.
You're right. Okay, sorry. Um, they do not repair them. The second says, I heard too as he did, and the third says, I too heard as he did. The idolater is liable whether he serves, slaughters, burns an offering, pours a libation, bows down, accepts it upon himself as a deity, or says to it, You are my God. However, whoever embraces, kisses, sweeps, sprinkles, washes, anoints, clothes, or shoes, it transgresses a negative commandment. And one who vows in its name or upholds its name transgresses a negative commandment. And defecating to Balpur is its service. Throwing a stone, throwing a stone at Marcellus, this is its service. One who gives of his children to Molech is not liable unless he hands him over to Molech and passes him through the fire. If he hands him over to Molech but does not pass him over the fire, or passes him over the fire but does not hand him over to Molech, he is not liable unless he hands him over to Molech and passes him over the fire. The practitioner of is a necromancer who speaks from his armpit, and a Yidoni is one who speaks through his mouth. These receive stoning, and one inquires of them transgressions of prohibition.
Okay.
And
Okay.
okay. Um, Gimel. When the first day fell on Shabbos, all the people would bring their lulavim to the synagogue. On the morrow, they would rise early and come, and each would identify his own and take it, since the common had declared that no one should fulfill his obligation on the first day of Sukkot with a lulav belonging to another. On the other days of the festival, one may fulfill his obligation with someone else's lulav. Rabbi Yossi says, if the first day of the festival fell on Shabbos and someone forgot and removed the lulav into the public domain, he is exempt since he took it out legitimately. A woman is permitted to accept from the hand of her son or from their husband or place it in water on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says on Shabbos it may be replaced. On Yom Tov one may add, and on intimate days one changes. A minor who knows how to waive it is obligated.
Okay.
Okay, terrific.
That's it.
Not tomorrow. Okay, have a great day.
You.
Enjoy. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Well, bye.